What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. I am your host today, Shane Sams, and I'm super excited to talk to another member of the Flipped Lifestyle community to help them take their online dream and business to the next level and let all you guys listen in so that you can learn how to change your family's future as well. And I am super excited to talk to Dr. Gail Clifford today. Gail, how you doing?
Very well, Shane. Thanks for having me.
I am pumped up to talk. Your story is fascinating. It's fascinating. I'm so excited we get to dive into that a little bit today and talk about this amazing online business you're creating. But how did you hear about Flipped Lifestyle? Like, how did you even find the Flipped Lifestyle community in the first place?
So I think you're really going to love this because I am your unicorn. I had never heard about you before until Joseph Michael, known to you as Joe Nicoletti, had sent me an email because I've been one of his Learn, Scrivener, Fast people forever, and I'm on his email list permanently. And he invited me to your webinar in January. And by the third session, I had signed up for the membership. And the fourth session, I realized you had people and your team could take care of all four things that I needed to get over the hurdles that have kept me back for the last 15 years. So I signed up for the big package.
What were those four hurdles that we found? Like, because usually you're looking around like, well, this is one hurdle over here with this coach. This is another one over here. But like, what was the total package that Flipped Lifestyle had? Those four things.
Absolutely. So when I took the little quiz that you gave, it says I really should be doing courses. And I've actually created courses, but they've never sold in marketing. So I wanted to do courses. I wanted to do coaching. I wanted to do one-on-one coaching and group coaching. I thought doing a podcast was a good idea and getting social marketing up was important with social media. So I wanted all of those things. So I had roadblocks with tech, roadblocks with reaching my audience, roadblocks just every which way that all the other coaches I've tried, and I've tried some great ones, they just couldn't help me get through. And your team slowly but surely is getting me there.
That's what I'm talking about. And really the big difference in what we created at Flipped Lifestyle in the beginning was kind of what you just said. Like when we hired coaches in the beginning, but they all were like so specialized. It's like they couldn't give us like the complete picture. So we try to handle that in a community. We try to handle that with a team supporting you, not just Shane supporting you. I quickly realized, Dr. Gail, I don't know everything, right? No matter how many people I coach. And I was like, I need more people to help because I don't have all the answers. So like we've got tech calls, we've got basically life coaching. That's what DeLynn does in the community. And
Absolutely.
then
awesome.
We've also got the business stuff as well with the blueprint. So that's awesome. I'm so excited.
And the total coaching package. I mean, it was really Brooke that got me from the program that I had created last year, which is a great and very robust program. But she's like, okay, but what about the people that are two steps before that? And that's how I got to Single Mom MD. So
nice.
Brooke and Steven and Eric and the new coaches, everybody's been great.
That's awesome. So good to hear. All right. So let's talk about you real quick. Let's get into your background. We may spend a little more time here than normal because your life sounds like a movie. So like, tell us before we get to the actual online business, tell us about you and your background, a little bit about like how you kind of heard about online stuff and then like just everything that happened in your life that kind of led you to that point back in January.
Okay. Well, I'm the fourth of seven and my parents have always been very industrious and have really understood the importance of making money and the ability to give money, whether it's to church or other charities. I was accepted to medical school at 15, and I was out of the house on my own financially by 16. But that also meant I got a whole lot of student loan debt. And so I graduated from medical school with $250,000 of student loan.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
I just when you said that, like I was drinking a drink of coffee and it just completely went down the wrong pipe. I was just my entire back of my head just started like twitching a little bit. Oh my gosh. That's $250,000, Gail.
Right. And that's how I feel even when I'm not drinking a cup of coffee, you know? And the worst thing is I graduated at a time when the interest rates were so high, they were 18 to 22%.
Oh my Lord.
Yes. So I did all kinds of things to try and keep those loans in deferment. I had 8 different loans that I could keep in deferment if I stayed in like college longer. So as a medical resident, I actually went back to school and took enough credits to keep those loans in deferment just so that it wouldn't grow anymore.
Wow.
Pretty crazy. Like
pretty crazy.
I delivered
anyone with college debt listening to this right now, like if you got less than $250,000 in debt, pay attention because we're going to get out of this. But like, that's amazing.
Or join my membership and I can help you.
Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking. See, that's how you do it right there. Throw the pitch out, right? I got this.
That's right. I joined my membership. I have all kinds of crazy, great ways to do it.
I'll let you fully plug it for all the medical people.
Thank you. SingleMomMD.org. Let's go.
There you go. There you go.
All right. So fast forward, I met and married my husband. A year later, we had our daughter. A year after that, I was in private practice, and I'd actually negotiated a pretty good salary for myself. Back then, physicians were lucky in internal medicine to be making 120, and I negotiated 160. But they got a whole lot out of me for that amount of money. And my first year, I paid $50,000 of that after-tax money to the student loans, and the principal went up by $2,000.
Unbelievable.
So it just felt like something I was never going to be able to get out of. And my dad had said, don't worry, they wouldn't loan you the money if they didn't think you were good for it. But 23 years later, it's true. I got it all paid off, but it was 1.3 million by the time I paid it in full.
It's so funny. I'm going to just go on a little bit of a tangent here. What your dad said is kind of true, kind of not, but that's not how money works. They don't loan money so that they care if you pay it back. They can now claim that as an asset that people owe them money, and that lets them loan more money so they can make money out of thin air, right? Like the debt industry is not like, I hope you pay this off quick. No, they want you paying forever so they can play with the wiggly rules to go out and like loan more money out, just to keep you perpetually in debt.
And we're actually kind of brainwashed with that in medical school, that the single most important thing to do is pay off your student loan debt. And it turns out, even though they're doing all those wiggly worm ways to make you go longer, that if you have other priorities in your life, especially if you're a single mom, that sometimes the kids have to come first, because your student loans don't go away with bankruptcy, but they do go away if you die. Yeah. So if you put all of your money into your debt, and the day after you pay it off, you're dead, your family doesn't have your student loan debt, but they also don't have money for an education, money to pay the bills, money to do anything. So it's really important to learn to balance that.
Yeah. It's almost like a reverse life insurance policy. I remember for years, like we paid off our house and all this other stuff first before we worked on Jocelyn's student loans when we started our online business, because we literally were like, look, we can pay this off anytime. But if one of us if you kick the bucket, they go away anyway. Right. So like, why write the check when we can just pay the smallest amount they would ever let us pay on that until we get sick of doing it? And we did that for years and years and years. We didn't touch her student loan debt because it was not that much every month. And it was like, if anything happens to one of us, there you go. Those student loans go away.
You can always just go get 3 more members and pay it off, right?
That's exactly right. If your student loan payment's $1,000 a month, you only need 10 people to pay you $100 a month, and you got $1,000 a month. So those people can pay off the loan for you. That's what I'm talking about. So basically you get this good job, $160,000 a year, but you said it took a lot of your time up, like a ton of your time. Like they got their pound of flesh. So it's almost like, and then you have all this student loan debt. So now you're kind of trapped in like a golden handcuff situation. Like you can't give up 160 grand because you've got $250,000 in student loans. And you can't really say no to them making you work 160 hours a week or whatever they're making you do on call all the time. Right. So you're kind of in this vortex. So like what happened? Like what changed the game? Like, so kind of led you in different directions.
Yeah, it was a terrible thing. And then unfortunately, when our daughter was 17 months old, we lost my husband in a car accident. Oh, man. So then everything else was worse because I didn't have him taking care of home and the baby and everything else. So then I had to find a way to pay for nannies and extended daycare and ways to help keep her protected. And it was also a really horrible wake-up call for me, not only that I was doing the right thing as far as making sure I got money for her education, but to say, okay, the student loans aren't the most important part, and yet they were still 18 to 22%. So they were growing faster than I could do it. So I'm like, okay, for right now, I tried for about 5 months. I tried to keep doing everything. And then my body collapsed. And I was diagnosed with an autoimmune problem that undoubtedly was brought about or brought out by the stress that I was feeling.
Stress is a crazy thing, man. Like, it's one reason I think that we became so passionate about what we do at Flip Lifestyle, because like I actually at one time, I got it. It came back through a lot of different reasons, but like, I was so stressed out in my life that I lost like 30% of my hearing because the doctor said that the stress was so bad in my life that there's hairs or something inside my ear, and they were withering and dying from because all the blood was like the stress was pulling the blood back into my like torso and stuff, and like so they weren't getting enough, something like that, like a cilia or something like that. I can't remember exactly what they're called. You're a doctor. You probably know what I'm talking about.
Really is right.
Yeah, there you go. See, I remember. I paid attention. But like the stress will kill you. I mean, and it's not worth it. Like it's just not worth all the stress. And like especially student loan stress, because it's the only loan you can't bankrupt. Like they know what they're doing, trapping people and all. Like imagine if instead of spending $250,000, if you want to be a doctor, go do whatever you got to do. But like imagine instead of spending all that money on that, you just spent about 10, 20 grand on starting a business that worked. You know what I'm saying? Like what if everyone could just do that? How better off would society be without all that student loan debt that you just can't even get rid of? And then your husband dies on top of it. Like, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, you know? So like what happened after that? Like, you know, throughout your childhood, your child's childhood, and like, you know, did you start looking for other things at that point to try to make more money?
Yeah, I did. It was funny because another like turning moment is when you don't have the kind of support you need. And then my daughter was sick. So they wouldn't let me take a day off work because of those golden handcuffs that you mentioned. So I just made a nest of blankets for her in the side of my office. And she just slept in there, and we fed and watered her as much as we could through the day. I mean, I was lucky that I had a great office manager and a great nurse. But that's when I found Russell Branson, I think it was. And it was before his ClickFunnels days you've shared with me, but, you know, starting with affiliates. But because of the onerous nature of the contract, my employer, the hospital, said, that doesn't align with our values, so you can't do that.
Let me ask you a question. Like, sure. What do they mean it doesn't align with their values? That you would be making money somewhere else, or that you would be working on something else, or just like what you were promoting? Like, and who are they to tell you what to do in your free time? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And for them, it was that I was basically like shilling products by being an affiliate. So it didn't matter that the products were good for you. You know, I wasn't doing something like a snake oil salesman. They didn't care. Yeah. And if I chose to do it, they got to receive all of the income because my contract said any money I made went to them because I was a salaried employee.
Oh my gosh. I swear. I just flip the world. Maybe we need to flip the world off every once in a while instead of flip it upside down. Maybe we just need to go double bird on the world. Cause like it was something similar to that when we were like starting our business. Like there was a big controversy back in the day because this thing called Teachers Pay Teachers came out where people could sell their stuff online, and school districts around the country were telling teachers no. And that anything they created, even if it was on their own time, even if it was on their own computer, what belonged to school districts. And I challenged this, and I was in a meeting one time and I went, that's bull. I said, if it comes out of my mind, it's my money and it belongs to me. I actually got into an argument at a professional development. I knew I was quitting my job, so I was kind of trying to like fight with them about it. But there's no legal standing on that. I get it if you're a contracted scientist who's hired for research and development and you invent something because of the funding from Apple. I get that. I get why that some of that happens. But if you're a human who creates things not related to your job on your free time and spare time, that's your effort. That's your energy that you're trying to convert into the energy of money. I bet a lot of people out there listening to this right now going, yep, that's my problem too. You know?
Happens way too often.
All right. So you go out, you start so what happened there? You just kind of fell out of the affiliate game for a while. And then what changed that made you kind of go back down the rabbit hole?
Yep. And in the meantime, in my job, I had created a new program at the hospital where the unassigned patients that came to the ER, they didn't have physicians. That's what made them unassigned. And so when there were a couple other family practitioners that had open practices we decided to take the burden off the doctors that had full practices that didn't want any part of it. And we created the first hospitalist program for that small hospital in Southern Illinois. And They gave us just like tiny amount of money. It was like $3.25 an hour, which even back then was below minimum wage. But it was enough to give me like a couple of Christmas ornaments. And it got me, most importantly, a ride to a conference in Louisiana where I learned about the National Association of Inpatient Physicians, which is now the Society of Hospital Medicine, which is the group I belong with and is it's one of the largest medical societies in the world. And it's hospital medicine. So internal medicine, family practice, or med peds physicians that only see patients in the hospital. And when I joined them in 1998, there were only 2,000 of them. Now there are about 36,000 of them. So it was a big shift, and I changed jobs. I went to Louisiana, and then I started going into leadership. I went to Omaha, had, unfortunately, the death of a partner there led to the end of that program, and then started working in South Dakota. And I was on one night and just running a code. A patient had come in from 3 hours away, still coding, but it was a friend's dad. So you don't give up, right? Do the code. It took another hour or more, and he actually survived the code. But the nurse, instead of putting the CPR board down in front of her, threw it over top of the bed, over the top of the patient, crushed my ankle, left me crippled for 10 years.
Oh my gosh. Man, you had the universe was testing you. I mean, goodness gracious.
It's one of those, okay, God, I don't know what I'm supposed to learn from this, but I'm not particularly liking it right now.
I have no choice in this scenario to learn whatever you're teaching me.
Right. So I ultimately went out to Washington State, and it was there that it was years later. We actually, backing up just a little bit, 2010, I was working at the Mayo Clinic, and my dad suffered sudden death while driving. And he was the one that was taking care of my daughter while I worked. So I was commuting from South Dakota up to Minnesota and then driving back. So I would stay in Minnesota for a week and then drive home. And one day when my dad was driving back home to their house in Omaha, he had a fatal heart attack. But he was a block from a fire department. They resuscitated him, but his brain was gone. So he had the equivalent of a really severe dementia. He was only in his 60s. So it was another one of those, how am I going to do this with student loans, with my daughter? She was only 13 when that happened. And I'm like, I really have to find another way to make income that doesn't rely on medicine. And so I went out and I got coaching, and I paid for coaching, and I did programs, and I created courses, and I did side jobs, and I started doing locums work. And all of that brought in revenue, but none of it brought in members or consistent monthly renewable income, recurrent income. And that was always the big problem. So after we lost my dad, I actually decided to go to New Zealand, but the visa didn't go through. And even though I had all these things set out, it didn't work. And I ended up in Washington State. And so I'm working hard, and my daughter goes off to college, and I had saved more than $100,000 for her college before I left private practice. But that was used up at Pepperdine, basically her first semester, with everything that had to be paid up front. And then her sophomore year, she was kidnapped while she was overseas in Florence. And it was devastating.
What? Hold on. We went zero to kidnapping there. So was she just on a trip? Like
she was
for
studying
school?
Abroad. She was studying abroad at the Florence program.
And she got like kidnapped by, what were they trying to do? Like sex trafficking or something? Yes. Or just like ransom?
It was 3 Albanians that they actually caught later. And it was 100%.
How did she get away from them?
She actually got away based on her defense training and got the police involved so they could go back and get the other girl. So she saved the other girl's life as well as her own.
So you're here.
I was actually in Spokane, Washington, working in a double job.
Oh my gosh. So did the police call you? Does the ambulance call you? Like who called you?
She called me. Yeah, she called me from the hospital, and it was the middle of the night in Spokane. And she's like, Mom, all shaken up. Mom, I was taken, but I got away. I'm at the hospital. And so to me as a physician, being at the hospital means she's taken care of. She's been examined. She's done everything she needs to do. The police are involved. And it turns out that school didn't do anything for my daughter. They only took care of the other girl who had been gang raped because they said,
oh my gosh.
And then they put my daughter on her suicide.
So your immediate instinct is, I got to be on a plane. I got to go to my daughter. I got to go.
Right. I have to be there. I call my boss at my regular job, and she says, nope, you can't go.
What? And I've been there. If anybody knows my story that's listening to this podcast, like I found out my son was being basically locked in a dark bathroom for hours at a time at his daycare. I didn't know all the details the day that I found out, kind of had a clue something was wrong. But I asked for the day off work, and my boss literally looked at me and said, is your son in immediate danger? And I said, well, not right this second, because I had removed him and put him in another daycare just for a second where my daughter was. And she said, well, if I know your son needs you, but your job needs you too. And if he's not in immediate danger, you can handle your personal problems after work. And was that the similar kind of thing here? They just were like, well, she's fine. She's in the hospital. You deal with it. She's an adult. Like, what in the world was the reasoning? Everybody out there too, if you got a boss, fire your boss, start an online business, and let's get rid of these people in our lives that are just like trying to control us. It's ridiculous. But like, what was going on? Like, what happened? How did that conversation go?
It's exactly what you said. It's like, oh, well, she's in the hospital, so that's okay. It's all right. So I tried, and they didn't have anybody to work. I couldn't find anybody to cover for me. So I actually stayed and worked a couple of days. And then I went to my own doctor, and I got FMLA because my anxiety was so high. It wasn't safe for me to be seeing patients. And it not only wasn't fair to me, but it wasn't safe for patients at that point because all of my attention was on my daughter.
What year was this?
This was 2014.
Wow. That's about when we started this podcast, right about then. That sure is. Yeah.
Amazing how much time has passed, and yet it feels just like yesterday, doesn't it?
Yesterday, yeah. Especially like said, I think the pandemic like broke all of our brains and how time works. Like
Right.
the pandemic feels simultaneously yesterday and 100 years ago to me. Like it's just shocking how my brain can't fully grasp time. And I feel like there's also like some PTSD for the global PTSD of going through that, of like, we're all kind of like, well, that happened once. Is that just going to happen again? Like, do you feel that way too? Like as a physician being like closer to like the medical community and stuff?
Absolutely. And so if you fast forward even to, so I left that job and I'm trying to build online business and I'm having roadblock. So I'm pushed back down. I get another degree, open my own business. I get more business through my locums job, which is my new company, but I'm not doing anything that can give me more passive income.
Yeah.
So I leave the job, I go to a different job. It's a really nice, a nice little community, a critical access hospital, people that seem like me, but I learned some issues there and the pandemic hits. And one of my partners was super lucky. She actually gave birth to a little boy the day that they called the pandemic. So she wasn't even there during the initial horror of it. So I was working double time during the pandemic and I had to do the scarcity. They asked for an ethics committee, but what they really wanted was a scarcity committee. So when the resources got too scarce to treat everybody, how are we going to choose which people we treat and which people we let die?
Jeez, man, that's just more stress, more anxiety, everything piling on each other. Yeah. As you go.
And so my most beloved daughter had graduated or was finishing her master's degree in development practices and is just an awesome human being and actually helped stop the pandemic crossing Africa. Because if you remember, you don't hear much about the pandemic in Africa, and it's because of my daughter's work and everybody else, of course, not her alone, but all the work that she supported with all of the groups across Africa to just keep it contained, because that would have been even worse, would have wiped out so many more millions.
Yeah.
And, the scarcity committee, I said, okay, I just need you to guarantee that you're going to take care of me and take care of my daughter, because her only exposure to this virus is the fact that you are making me the only person in the hospital that sees the patients with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, nope, you're in the same lottery with everybody else. Wow. And I'm like, come on, like, what is it? What am I missing?
Yeah.
Makes it okay for me to say, these are my boundaries. And I do think I deserve this. If I'm the doctor taking care of all of the patients with COVID in the hospital, because it's a 26 bed critical access hospital, why shouldn't I deserve to be treated and to be guaranteed treatment for myself and my family? When the 9/11 towers came down, the very first thing the hospital in Louisiana did was guarantee that they had a place and treatment for ourselves and our families.
Yeah.
So what was it about this Minnesota hospital that they're like, nope, you're in it with everybody else?
So by this point, you're just fed up with the system, working for other people. So you're like all in. You start looking online, you're getting coaching. You join Joe Nicoletti's Learn Scrivener Fast because you're writing a book or something like that, probably.
Always content creation, right?
All content creation all the time.
That's my Wall Street Journal best-selling plaque behind me. Wall Street Journal, USA Today.
And the experts, that's the if you're listening to this on the podcast or if you're watching on YouTube, you can go see the plaque. But the experts cure how entrepreneurs are changing the world. Are you in that book? You're in that book.
My chapter, Physicians Better Way, because when I quit that job, I went to Belize for 2 months and I built out an entire program about the Physicians Better Way. And
oh my gosh, we got to blow you up, Gail. We got to blow this up. Your story, this is like a Hollywood movie or something like that. I always tell people, like, people laugh at me because like people always come up to me like, oh, your story is so amazing. And I'm like, not really. I was a teacher who was mowing his yard and started an online business. That's pretty much my story, if you nutshell it down. And like, there's a lot more to it. I'm not going to undercut myself, but like everyone's story is so amazing. And when you can get it out there and it resonates with the right people, right? Then all of a sudden that story becomes like an amazing money-making generating tool for you and your family, because your story is your greatest marketing. If you're not telling your story, we went through this. We read off air. I might have you read it here in a little bit, the short version of the story. So I teach people how to do what I call a story pitch, where I tell people their storytelling framework and we put it in a way. And then that's the transition over to the pitch. But your story is absolutely incredible. So let's fast forward a little bit more here. All right. So we're fed up. We're ready to go. These golden handcuffs. We got to shatter these freaking golden handcuffs. We got to shatter the old way. Even though I've put so much time into my career, I got to change it. You got to let it go. You got to do something different. So now, what are you doing right now? What is the online business? What's the goal, and who's the avatar we're trying to help? And then tell me where you're stuck, and let's start working on some ways to get this unstuck where more people can see it.
Thank you. So the Physician's Better Way, when I joined your program, I spoke with the excellent Coach Brooke, and she's like, why don't we bring it back a couple of steps and narrow it down even further so we know who we're really targeting. So instead of doing all physicians, let's go to what happened to me. I was a single mom and I really struggled. And that made a lot of sense to me. So even though that quiz I took with you says, do courses first, I knew the problem for me is always marketing. So how do I get the people into the course? So it made sense to start coaching or start a podcast. So I've done all of those. I've done the Single Mom MD podcast. I just did my 35th episode on Saturday, and the 17th one is out in the world. So I've got episodes scheduled through the rest of summer, and I'm working.
Isn't that feel good? Doesn't it feel good? We teach that. It's called the content explosion. We actually have a video about that in the blueprint. And man, there is nothing better than when all your emails and podcasts are done and you can look up and go, I have 12 weeks to do other things, whether it's in my business, in my life. It's the greatest feeling on the planet. I hate it when I'm on the road speaking so much because when I go talk, it messes up the podcast schedule. And I'll look up and we'll have 8. And then I go speak in 4 different cities and over the next 6 weeks. And then I'm Kevin, my editor, sending me a message going, hey boss, we got 2 left. I'm crap. I got to go do some more. But man, it's a good feeling when they're all batched up. So kudos to you for doing that.
It is. So now I just need to work on the marketing. I had the idea during one of the community calls to do the Mother's Day Summit for podcasts. And that actually worked out nicely. It 5x'd my numbers and got the attention of some other people that are like, hey, you want to join this group? We can help with marketing.
Yeah. Did you get some other coaching clients out of that little burst there? Out of that
I
summit
had some one-offs. I sure did. So I've had individual coaching clients, but not anybody in the membership yet. But it's really fulfilling. I actually had one of my residents from the Mayo Clinic years ago reach out to me, and she's having some problems with a job. And so I helped coach her through not only what was going on at nights at that particular hospital, because it's something that happens frequently to women physicians that are working, but how to help her choose the next job. And so she's going into her new job in August and is thrilled.
So have your coaching clients, this is, we always start somewhere and that puts us out in the world. Have your clients all been single mom physicians out there? And you think there's about how many single mom physicians do you think are out there?
There are about 100,000 single mom physicians out there now, because the total number of physicians, according to Dr. Google, is about 964,000, and 37% of them are women.
Okay.
And about 20% of those will be single moms.
Okay, cool.
So of my coaching clients so far, only one has been a single mom during the coaching.
All right. Interesting. And then your podcast, are you getting downloads?
I am. I'm glad I'm past 100, but I'm not getting it as fast. And I think that mostly has to do with my marketing. So I'm working on that. Yeah.
The thing is, it doesn't have to be huge. There were 89,000 elementary libraries, I believe is what it was when we started elementarylibrarian.com. And then when I did the research for my football coaching playbooks, the people that I thought were searching for my playbook was just around 1,000. Very small audience. But if you can collect those 100, 200, 300, 400 people, and then you charge the correct pricing and you provide the right offer, you really only need 1,000, 2,000 people paying attention to you to really blow something up. Yeah. How much do you want to make a month?
10,000 or more.
Nice. All right. That's our first goal. Now, I hope everyone noticed how I asked you that question. The question is not what you think you can make or it's how much do you want to make? That's such an important question that people don't ask themselves enough. If you look up and go, I want $30,000 a month, then now it's just math to figure out how many people you need to get there, right? That's the whole point of our pricing scheme. I always tell people 100 people, you need 100 people to pay you $50 a month, make 60 grand a year. That's just a placeholder for how much money do I need to make, and then how many people do I need at what price to go out and solve that problem, and we can do that. What are you charging for the membership right now?
For the beta membership, I'm just at $49 because I want to make it absolutely the lowest barrier to entry.
Well, you may have hurt yourself a little bit because of the demographic there. you always should try $50. Everybody should start at $50 just to see if anybody buys it. But your particular niche is actually something I've seen many times in my coaching clients. When I get a doctor or a pharmacist or a lawyer or a professional person, because there's so much money involved in their life, like, like a doctor that's making 160 grand a year, or someone who's got $250,000 in debt and they're paying God knows how much in their monthly payment, or like they're used to different, and also to the societal pressures of a doctor being a successful person, which means you got to drive the nice car or live in a certain neighborhood or just all the doctor stuff, right? It's like when we all grew up, doctors and lawyers were the only good jobs. Remember, like everybody wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Right.
But like all those pressures skew that price up, where those professionals in those spaces will look at prices a little differently, and they may not trust the $49 a month thing. Like, how am I going to get a result for $49 a month? Right. We had a pharmacist. Her name was Blair Green. I don't know if you ever heard her podcast. You need to go back and listen to that one. I'll send it to you. She was a pharmacist and she was having a lot of trouble at $100. And she had a big join fee. There was a couple other variables there, but I told her I was like, you're not charging enough. These are pharmacists, man. They're paying $1,000 a month in student loans too. Like, you need to charge them $200, $300 a month, period. And when she changed it to like $197 a month, she skyrocketed up to like $40,000 a month, because all the people that did know about her suddenly were like, wow, that looks valuable. I'm used to spending money on my education and things that are valuable. So that might be a problem. We might need to raise the price to make it feel more valuable. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And I had originally thought, just trying to get the beta group in, like 20 people, make sure that the system works, make sure that everything goes smoothly, and then go up to $297 a month.
Yeah. Yep. I think we might need to make a big jump on that, like now, and go ahead and do that. And that's the thing about pricing for everybody that's listening, about when you're pricing your products, like, you think about your members. Like, you think about, like, we had elementary librarians who actually started it out like, what was crazy was, I don't know if I've ever talked about this. We didn't know about pricing and how to do it. When we started out, we had to get some coaching, and then we had to figure stuff out on our own. And now that I've seen 1 million memberships people launched through our business, through Flip Lifestyle, it's like, I kind of get it. But like, we started out, we were charging like $86 for the whole year. Uh-huh. And I was like, what did we just do? And then like, we figured out like, well, but will teachers pay $50 a month? Like, we didn't know for sure. So we baited and we tried some things. But then when we finally were just like, this is $49 a month, and if you don't like it, go away. Some people were like, that's too expensive. 99% of them were like, that's too expensive. Right. But like, the 1,000 that said they'd give us 49 didn't care. That's 1% of all librarians, basically, but it didn't matter, because we found the price point that worked. Now, we tried going higher, and that did not work with teachers. Once that $50 was a barrier, they thought about that $50 bill. But in this space, it's the opposite. The $50 is a little too low. And it's probably, you just started launching this. I'm getting it out there, so it's fine. But we probably need to say, hey, this is going to be 300. Let's get you in for 97 right now. Let's get it near $100. Let's make it, it's going to be this. That way we can promote this like this for a while and see if we can get it in front of the right avatar that's going to pay this. I think this is an avatar issue more than anything, because you're getting coaching, and the coaching people that show up. Tell me about the results. What result are you promising to people? What are you promising? We'll say single moms for right now, but these physicians, basically, what are you promising them? What's the result if they join your membership?
The big thing is to overcome the overwhelm of not having enough time, money, or support, because the programs that we have and the systems that we implement allow you to understand the better use of your time and your money and the places where you can get support.
What do you stress, like, in the marketing? You've got like your sales pages and stuff now. Is it like, are you stressed out because you have too much on your plate? Do you have anxiety? Do you feel like they own you? Like, what are you saying, like words like that to your people, like to kind of stir their fears and obstacles and emotions up a little?
A lot of it is really more, how do you wish you could be when you were home with your kids? Have you had enough time to snuggle with your kiddos today? What would your life look like if you actually were fully present when you're with your kids, instead of having a stack of charts hanging over your head at the end of the day?
That's fascinating. That's why I think that's why some other people have jumped on, because it's like they're parents basically at that point. You know what I mean? And yes, like, that's the nerve that you're actually hitting, right? So you can do it that way. I wonder in the marketing, like we'll talk about getting exposure here in a minute. Like marketing is the very multi-leveled, it's layered. It's like, there's the marketing is like what you're saying, how you're presenting things first and foremost. Marketing is getting that message in front of other people, right? And then then there's marketing to get them to take action. And there's marketing once they take action. Like there's even internal marketing. This is something that people don't talk about enough in their business. Like, we send emails to our members almost every day about what's going on inside of our membership. So we can tell them like we're remarketing our membership all the time to those people. But I wonder if you could play a different angle here. I love the name Single Mom MD. That's a wide net, right? That's a huge wide net. And I'm wondering two things. I'm wondering, one, yes, it's for physicians. Like any physician, I think it's like, I'm a single mom MD. If I can overcome the overwhelm with all the crap I've got going on, I'm a single mom. I don't even have the support. Don't you think I could help you if you had a spouse or if you didn't have a spouse or like whatever? Like I think you pivot the product you pitch is this is for doctors, any doctor out there, right? That way you can are you a doctor with kids? I can help you. Like, that's it. Like, that's the sentence. Like, it's like, I can help. If you are a doctor with kids, the single mom MD can help you overcome the overwhelm, get rid of all this stress. You can start feeling like you're at home with your kids and you can balance everything. Like, I'll give you the true, like, doctor life work balance, right? If you just change that little bit where you're not so focused on it, you can give people permission to buy, give people permission to come in and give people permission to do those things. And then like, what does the membership look like right now? Like, what does it, like if I joined at whatever price right now, I'm a doctor with kids. Like what would I get inside the membership offer?
Right now in the membership, the promise is once a month question and answer on a Zoom call. And then the various, like the frequently asked questions. So there's going to be a lot of information there that you can just go and check.
Like the content, the content yes. strategy.
So through the emails, they already have a time audit. They have a money audit. So they know how to better balance their time and outsource what they can, buy their time back, basically, and get support. So there's support within the communities. And because I live so close to Disney World now, we also have meetups. So we'll do walkabouts at the parks.
Interesting. I wonder if we can bulk that up a little bit. Right. I think you're going to have a better offer for doctors, but it can't be like they've got to spend a lot of time in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How much do you charge for coaching right now?
$5,000 for 6 months, 30 minutes a week, up to 30 minutes a week.
Ooh, that's a good offer. 30 minutes a week. Do they get anything else like Voxer access to you or email access? There's
a separate charge for unlimited email access. And right now I have that at $200 a month.
Oh man, I got an idea. What if the membership was $200 a month? And what if the membership had the content? What if it had let's say double the group call coaching? Let's say twice a month. Let's get crazy and work another hour. All right, let's go twice a month. They have the call, right? I think you need. Do you have a forum or a Facebook group or anything with this?
I do have a Facebook group, and I also am building out the community in Kajabi.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's good. All right. Now, what if that included unlimited email access? Because I can tell you right now, you can put 1,000 people in that, you're going to get 10 emails a day max. I mean, it's everyone's not going to use it all the time, but like that just feels like such a good value. Like email access, there's a huge perceived unlimited. Anytime you can use the word unlimited in anything that you do, it's almost better than lifetime. I actually like people love using like lifetime access and stuff. I do that, but I like unlimited better. When you say unlimited, people are like, whoa, I got the keys to the kingdom coming back here. But if you could include that with the membership, right? Mm-hmm. Then what you say is for $5,000 for 6 months, it's 30 minutes a call, private coaching. And then you can say, and you get 6 months in my membership community. So but then the membership community is like $197 a month. So it's a lot more expensive. We can get to $10,000 a whole lot faster. I think, what is that? 50 people? Right. Like you would need only 50 people to get to 10K a month. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That sounds doable. We need 50 physicians to join this at $200 a month, which will feed a couple coaching clients, you'll get 2 or 3 of those. Actually, if you could get like 30 members, and pick up 1 client a month to add into your coaching, you need 30 human beings on the planet Earth at that price to feed into that. But you're going to have to serve those people really well, where it's like you're more frequent, you're showing up every other month. There's a Facebook group where you probably post once a day, just go in there and start discussions and stuff. And then unlimited email. They can email Dr. Clifford, Wall Street best-selling author, every single day, right? For that. And pitch it as, you can't pitch it as it's for single moms. I think that's probably got to go away. You've got to say, I'm the single mom MD, but I'm just showing you that I have more stress than you do. So if I can get mine right, what can I do for you if you had other support, right? It's got to be open to all physicians. So the membership can't be called the Single Mom MD podcast. It's got to be like, what's it called right now? What do you call it right now?
Single Mom MD. The DOs know that they're included, but
yeah, I think you got to change the name of the product to be like Mom and Dad MD. I don't know what it's called. We can work on that. That'll be something that you can work on in coaching and like over the next couple of weeks. Sure. But like the product's got to, it's kind of like my brand Shane Sam Show. Like so I have another podcast called the Shane Sam Show, right? We did season 1, did the first 100 episodes. We took a break. I'm about to roll that back out with a whole new theme and feel and just all kinds of things. But like, it's not going to necessarily, pitch flipped lifestyle even, right? I'm going to pitch my story pitch coaching. So like, it's like totally something different. So like, while the show is building an audience of a lot of people, right? I'm not going to pigeonhole it and be like, you have to be an online entrepreneur who's telling a story here. Like, it can be speakers, it can be anything. I'm going to open like that up for like everybody. It's kind of the opposite of how Elementary Librarian was built. Elementary Librarian was like, from the beginning, we were filtering elementary librarians as hard as possible because the things we had couldn't serve high school librarians. It just wasn't the right fit. You're the opposite. You need to have, it's not that you're trying to build an audience of single mom MD. It's single mom MD. I'm your host, Dr. Gail Clifford. I'm a single mom who has a lot of time commitments and struggles so hard balancing her time for years. But I figured it out. And then I figured out I could help all doctors, all physicians. I don't care if you're in the emergency room, I don't care if you're in the heart surgery. I don't care where you are, but I can help every physician have more time, have more peace, less stress, less anxiety, feel like those moments at home when you're with your kids. Like, that's the pitch. Now it's like, and then the Single Mom MD podcast is like, hi, I'm Dr. Gail Clifford. I'm the Single Mom MD, but this is for all parents of any physician with a parent. This podcast is for you. Now bend your podcast content to be more open to other doctors, other people, other stuff like that. Let's cast a bigger net so that we can get more people down to the bottom of the funnel. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. So we're doing a little avatars change. I think you go straight into $197 a month too, with this kind of new offer with these, twice the calls every 2 weeks, more content. Tell me about the FAQ content strategy. Do you have a course about time management that they can take on their own time?
It's separate. So like, I also have the option of bringing in either parts of the Physician's Better Way course that I built last year, or they can purchase that separately. But most of what we do at the time is the time audit portion that we're doing together during the group call. The first group call as the new group comes in.
All the courses have to completely be accessible for this $200 a month. Just put it in there, right? Okay. Like, you're selling courses, but you got to sell it as a membership, because when they join, they need to be able to go in there and do that. And I'll tell you what I would actually think about doing with your space, because I know doctors have a lot of busy work and stuff that they do as well, right? They can't always be doing this, but like, I would guess that a physician could listen to a podcast on a shift here and there. I would almost like really focus hard on marketing those as, hey, you can listen to these audio wise while you're doing other stuff. So like on your commute to work, whatever, I made this so you could listen to it, right? Because you're a busy physician. I totally understand that. So it's like you're tailor making this product for physicians, right? Mm-hmm. And focus on the audio content, but get the course inside there. Now you're like, look at this course. It's going to tell you everything. And we're going to audit your time so you can do this. Twice a month, we're going to hang out together, and you have you get a Facebook group to be with other physicians, and you have unlimited email access to me, period. And you give them a link to a contact form, and they can send you messages. And then all you got to do is get up every day and check if somebody emailed you, right? And see what happens. When that gets, let's grow it to where it becomes a problem, right? If we can get 500 people in there and that email is starting to get 50 a day, well, then you bring in help because you're making enough money where you can afford that, right? That's $100,000 if you get to 500 people paying 200 a month, right? Yep. All right, cool. So we got a marketing strategy there. I think your offer needs to go up in price, for sure. You can even say it's going to be $300 a month someday, but right now it's $197, and just leave that there. Now, you're doing all the things correctly. You've built the foundation. This is exactly how we teach it. You go in, you launch your podcast, you get consistent with that, your total consistency, you're batching, you're scheduling ahead. If we can fix this offer a little bit and expand the way we talk about it on your podcast, we're good. Now, the big question is, how are you getting this thing? These shifts are minor. You're going to go fix this product in a minute. You're going to keep doing your podcast.
Right.
How are you getting your podcast in front of doctors? Are you doing anything right now at all?
So the Mother's Day Summit, I contacted the people at the Society of Hospital Medicine, and they put it on their social media. And that's what gave me the 5X increase in the podcast. And I'm working with the American Medical Women's Association to try and figure out how we can work together. And it seems like there's some hiccups with them being a not-for-profit, but I'm learning.
Non-profit's always a hiccup. It's always a problem because you got to go get the board of directors to agree to stuff. And unless you have strong leadership, they're impossible to work with sometimes, But
they've already put me on their speakers board. So at least they can get me some business that way.
Yeah, for sure.
I actually spent 3 days personally, because I don't have a virtual assistant right now. I went through every medical school in the country and sent a letter to the dean, an email to the dean.
Man, I'll tell you what, your story is so good and it's so compelling. And you're in the storytelling framework, bro. Your story, we talked about the 20-minute version. You read this to me earlier. But grab your use my story pitch framework. Tell everybody real quick. Watch this, guys. I'm going to show you what we do here. There was a 20-minute version of her story a minute ago, but now listen to this 2-minute version. Go ahead and read that real quick, because this is what you would say on a normal podcast where you got to do your story quicker. But go ahead and tell me your storytelling framework real quick, or the one you use inside the community.
So the Once Upon a Time.
The Once Upon a Time. Tell me your Shane Sam's Once Upon a Time story.
Okay. Pixar version of my life. Once upon a time, I was in a goldfish bowl in private practice, working diligently building a life with my husband and spending more than a third of my salary servicing my student loan debt. Until one day, I lost my husband in a car accident. Because of that, I tried to keep doing everything for everyone, but became so overwhelmed, my body crashed, leaving me more in the hospital than out for 3 months as my celiac disease was discovered. Because of that, I started taking better care of myself and learned how to seek help from others. Because of that, I separated the albatross of my student loan debt from being the most important part of my financial life. Because of that, I doubled down on saving for my daughter's college education and my own financial future. Until finally, I'd paid off my student loans, paid cash for my daughter's college education, and became a millionaire before I was 50. And ever since that day, I've worked to find better ways for my physician colleagues to overcome the overwhelm of not having enough time, money, or support.
Oh, see, that's so good. I mean, standing ovation for Dr. That's exactly how you story pitch. And you could have that needs to be on the top of your YouTube channel, an episode on your podcast every once in a while. You can tell that quick version of your story. And that's oh, I'm a physician. I need those resources. I've got to do that. So you've got to be able to tell your story in front of places. I'd love for you to do a little research and figure out okay, we got to cast the biggest net possible. So what podcasts are doctors listening to? That's what the first thing you got to figure out is do some research and say, okay, what are the 100 best podcasts that are being listened to by doctors? I would expand out to I think you need to use the word dentist. I think that you need to use the more specific words like obstetricians. Is that what's an eye doctor called?
Ophthalmologist or optometrist.
I knew it was
optometrist.
What's it? Yep. Is there an obstetrician? Is that a word?
OBs are already MDs or DOs, but optometrist.
There you go. Gynecologist, but pick a doctor, right? Something with an ist on the end of it.
But even chiropractors, they're not physicians, but they're in the medical field. Yeah,
for sure. And I know we talked earlier, you don't really want to expand outside of physicians. You want to stick with physicians. Just because the needs of a nurse are different. And that's fine. That's perfect. But I think I love the angle that you're the single mom MD, which gives you the ultimate street cred of I can manage my time better than you, period. If you've got a spouse and you're struggling, I can help you too, because we can work out strategies like that. But if you can find these podcasts, like I've got a guy, what's his name? Mark Costas. He's got a dentist podcast, got like, it's like 20, 30,000 downloads a month or something. I'm probably more than that. I don't know. He got millions of dollars in his practice. Like these are all, I was on his podcast one time, right? Like, I don't know why, but like he has a dentist podcast. And like, if you can figure out like all the chiropractors, what are they listening to? Like doctors, what are they listening to? There's a couple things you can do with that information. It just takes the research. Like some people, I'm talking to all my procrastinators out there, you won't make time to write down the 100 top podcasts in your field. I know them. I have a spreadsheet that has them all written down because I need to know what they're doing, and they already have my audience. So if I can like show ads, some of those people will be targetable by ads, right? Like when I run ads, I can target Russell Brunson with ClickFunnels. I can target people who are paying attention to stuff that I teach to make it better. So you can just go the ad strategy route. But you can also like reach out for more collabs. Like success leaves clues. You reached out to someone who already had an audience of your avatar and they put you in front of them. That's the most powerful freaking strategy you can do online, is to get in front of other people's audiences. And you already started doing that. So I think you've got to go down that rabbit hole of correcting the product, raising the price so it's more in line with what your people might be looking for. That's the first step. That's a week though. You can do that this week. And then put your course in there, and then get that in front of people by finding all these audiences that already exist, and what they're searching for. Have you done any of that research? Have you been a guest on any physicians' podcasts?
I've been a guest on Dr. Christie's podcast, but I haven't gone yet to the people like the Passive Income MD, people that have real estate that are further out than my current avatar.
No, it doesn't matter. You got to, you've got to figure out like the podcast. Like I'm doing some quick Google right here. Like there's but
I think about what I listen to. So the Physician Philosopher or the Income MD. And
there you go. So what we've got to do is you take that story framework that I just told you, that we just read out loud, that you used in my program. And you've got to take that and you can write an email with that, right? A very concise version of it. You can put it in Chat GPT, let it help you condense it, where you can really tell a quick story that's compelling in a couple paragraphs, 3 paragraphs or so. Like, hey, I'm Dr. Gail Clifford. You lead with, I'm a Wall Street best-selling author, right? And then you lead with what you can do for them first, right? You say, hey, I can help your audience of physicians overcome the overwhelm. And then you go into your story. I'm a single mom who figured it out, blah, blah, blah. So they know that it's going to be a really good episode, and what you can do for them and how you can bring them good content. You can help their audience for them. You have a podcast, so you can say this, powerful words for podcast guesting. If anybody's doing this, I would love for us to do a podcast swap. I will feature you on my podcast. You feature me on yours. You can come on mine first, and like let people then serve them through your podcast, share them with your audience. And then try to create those things. You may reach out to 100 people and only 10 of them let you do it, but those 10 people. And then the next step is, once you go on, you do the podcast swap and you're on their show, and you want to thank them and say, hey, I'd love to help you make some more money off of your show. Would you like to do an affiliate partnership? If you have an email list, I can give you, like, I always tell people, if you're selling a membership, tell the person you'll give them 100% of the first month. That's how you word that. Because you don't want to get into recurring revenue, because that's kind of hard. But if you can keep people 6 months and you give them the first 200, who cares? Like, you're going to go back on the backside and make 1,000. So it doesn't matter. Right. So that's what we're trying to do, is get from serving them. Definitely brag about your street cred. Definitely brag, serving them first, and then getting that reciprocity to be built up, and then offering them an opportunity to make money. If they have 10,000 people, I'll tell you this right now. These podcast hosts, man, 90% of them, they may have 100,000 people listening every month, and they're not making any money. They cannot figure out how to monetize it because they ain't found the Flip Lifestyle podcast yet. So like you can, if you offer them money at that point, like I'll give you $200 for everybody that signs up. You think you could do a 3-day email campaign for me? You're going to get yeses like all the time, right? All the time. So that would be a good strategy for you to get more people involved to do that. And do you have money for ads?
I can. I know, like I keep getting told that Facebook is moving their metrics too much. And so right now I'm just trying to do organically with Instagram.
Don't listen to anybody. Pay show more people stuff. Caveman, right? Like just pay more people see, right? It's like just go all in. Like YouTube might be better though. I don't know what's better for physicians. You got to experiment with the platforms. I'm going to spend some money on YouTube this summer because I think they have a boost button now where you can show videos to people. It's pretty cool.
I'm trying to figure out like what to do for Single Mom MD. What do I do for YouTube?
I mean, I think you just take your podcast and you repurpose it a little bit, and then you do some YouTube shorts, pull some clips, things like that. Just get into it. And you got to just do YouTube until you see something kind of catching fire, and then you kind of go, it bends you to where they want you to be. You got to understand, you got to participate in YouTube to figure out what the algorithm kind of wants, but there's monetization there. You can turn on monetization. It doesn't have to be a huge audience. But like you can do that. But like if you can ever get to the place, this is a really good space for this because a couple $100s a month. If you can spend $200 a month to get a member, or if you can spend $200 for a lead or for a client, right, just in your membership, like you can print money. Because if you can spend $400 to get one doctor to join your $200 a month membership, the third month you just made 30% profit. All you got to do is keep people 3 months on average. Come on. That's spending $1 to make $1.01. How many dollars do you spend? All of them. Right, as soon as you meet that, right? So like that's a great strategy. And like just start some ads and be like, okay, I feel comfortable spending $1,000 or whatever. Okay, let's see if we can get one person to join with $1,000. Two. So doctors, are you? No time. I'm Dr. Gail. I'm a Wall Street person. I help people, whatever. And like you just make the ad and you start testing off of it. But like you got some great strategy. You got everything is in place. This is why we teach this in this order: is get the product done. We'll put it all together and get some iteration, start making content, be consistent. Because now, unlike all the people listening who haven't started their podcast, I see you in your car driving to work. Like all these people, like you have a podcast, you can make the reach out and say, let's swap. Right? You have leverage. I've got doctors. There's people listening. You've got doctors. I can help you make more money with my doctor membership, and I'll serve your doctors really well. You got a great story to tell. Like now you can go out and do the marketing tasks and start investing in ads and doing those things. So that's your big thing. If I was giving you homework, I would say this week, we're recording this on a Monday. What a great time to start a project. I love Mondays. I would get your product cleaned up, get the course inside there. Go ahead and change your marketing pages to sales pages to be like, this will be $297, but right now it's $197. I would offer a Q&A twice a month so you can get more. And I would call it group coaching. Like group coaching twice a month. Like doctors know what that is. Hype up the Facebook group more, connect with people who are in your community, and then unlimited email access to me and that $200 a month. Then just upsell one-on-one coaching. Upsell. I include the membership for all my one-on-one coaches. So if you want to get rid of that monthly payment, pay me $5,000 for 6 months and we got it. That's one-on-one coaching. That's how you position everything. And then next week, all right, I want you to go. There's 2 weeks left in the month that we're in right now, right? The next week, we're in June. The next week, I want you to research and I want you to figure out who are the 100 people on YouTube or podcasts right now, because we want podcast listeners and YouTube watchers, right? Who are the 100 people that have doctors paying attention? Go look at view counts on YouTube. That's a great place to start. And usually what I do is when I'm researching this, because podcast data is kind of shady and you can't figure out exactly what's going on, I go to YouTube and I look for a bunch of influencers in the space I want to research. I look at their view counts. I look at their subscribers. And then when I find good ones, I see if they also have a podcast. Right. So that's how I kind of filter, because I really want podcast listeners more than anything else. Like if I can get people from anywhere to my podcast, I know I've got a great chance of converting them into a member because we're going to build a relationship together. So do that. Like go through YouTube, go through Google, figure out the influencers, go through Twitter. I bet doctors are all over Twitter with big audiences because doctors follow people professionals use Twitter a lot. Right. So check Twitter and see what's going on there. And let's see if we can't find 100 or so doctor audience people, and let's try to connect with them in July. Let's just go next month and be like, hey, I'm going to reach out to 3 people a day for 30 days. And I'm going to come up with a quarter of those people we're going to build relationships with, and they're going to put me in front of their audience. And once we do that, in August, maybe we can be like, now let's go after some ads. Let's see if we can run some ads while the fruit bears from all of our research, right? We're going to start going on other people's podcasts, doing deals for affiliates. Then we can start spending money on ads and kind of ramp that up on the side as a personal project. How does that sound, Dr. Gail, for your next steps?
Absolutely doable.
Absolutely doable. Awesome.
Yep. So what most people don't remember is July 1st is a big day in the medical world because that's when the medical students all start as their first year residency. So that tends to be a really big time. So my question becomes, the membership is open, but what about an actual launch? What does that look like?
If you watch my launch training, I don't really call things launches. I just open the doors. Like if you want to go listen to a great podcast from the archives, go listen to Jody Moore. Better Than Happy. We talk about this. Me and Jocelyn were on that podcast with her. We talk about this. We just open the doors and we just want people to come in. We have a business. It's open. Let's find the next client. That becomes our total mission. I think launches are more for like your coaching product. Like that's like, you open and close coaching 4 times a year, right? Like that's better what that's for. Like Story Pitch, my new product, the new coaching thing I'm doing, helping people like come up with their pitch for their webinars, stage talks, emails, sales pages, whatever. That's more going to be an open close thing because I just don't want to take clients all the time in that. But a membership, man, you've got to have it open all the time. It's not a big deal. It looks like it's been there forever and people are FOMO'd because they're missing out. They need to get inside there. So with this, I'm just saying, do this, like change this. This is what you sell. It's open. Now all your energy goes to find the next client, right? Through personal reach outs, through going on podcasts, through doing webinars to ads that you set up, right? So not a big launch, not a big rigmarole. Just change it and push it forward and let's find the next customers at that point.
Sounds good.
All right, cool. All right. So real quick, I promised you this before we go, Dr. Gail, if there's any doctors that are listening out there that are stressed out, who have children and they need your help, where can they go find you?
So first of all, start listening to the podcast. It's on all of your podcast channels. It's Single Mom MD, and then www.singlemommd.org, or reach out to me by email, drgail@singlemommd.org.
All right, guys, that wraps up my coaching call with Dr. Gail Clifford. Man, she's got she's done exactly what we teach in the Flip Lifestyle Blueprint. She's built her platform. She's getting coaching clients. She's making $5,000 every time she sells a coaching product. And now we're going to scale this thing out with an amazing online membership. I've seen a lot of professionals come through our communities. That's the great benefit of being in Flip Lifestyles. We see hundreds of businesses all the time. So we get the wealth and that benefit of that information. Like I already knew what she needed to do because I've coached and helped somebody else in a similar physician in her position take it to the next level. So it's great that we have all that experience and you have access to that, guys. We've got amazing products and services online. All you have to do is head over to flippedlifestyle.com and check out the Flipped Lifestyle membership. Check out all the things that we have for you to start, build, and grow your online business. Not only have we been helping people for over a decade make money online, but we're always constantly updating. We're always constantly building our team out to better support our community. And we have a ton of resources for you over at fliplifestyle.com. And you may have heard me earlier tell you the Shane Sams Show is back. If you want to learn more about my private coaching, one-on-one stuff for my Story Pitch product, where I help people craft their story so they can sell more, from webinars, stages, email, and sales pages. And you want to learn more about the Shane Sams Show, it's a little bit different feel here. I'm interviewing the most creative, conscious, successful people and entrepreneurs on the planet. A strong focus on mindset, personal development, and up-leveling yourself as a human with a growth mindset. Check it out. You can go to shanesams.com to learn more about my other show. So that's all the time we have for this week, guys. I am so excited that you get to listen to Dr. Gail, and you're going to be here on the next episode to listen again. Until we do, listen, if you're listening to this podcast, our goal is for you to get out there, to take action and build something so you can do whatever it takes to flip your life and change your family's future. We'll see you next time.